Welcome back to the Catapult Effect podcast. I am your host, Katie Wrigley. In one of my initial episodes, when this podcast was originally called The Pain Changer, I created an episode that was WTF is Cognomovement. And now that we are more than 3 years into the future of when I initially launched this podcast, and I am 4.5 years into my practice as a practitioner, we have seen Cognomovement evolve so much. So this is what this episode is about, is an update to allow you to understand Cognomovement better. And I encourage you to stay to the end because I have a special invitation for you if you are listening to this episode. So stay tuned. It's coming up next.
Welcome to the Catapult Effect, a podcast where professionals like you turn challenges into opportunities for extraordinary growth. If you're tired of struggling, feeling lost, and ready to catapult yourself into the best version of you, then you're in the right place. Here's your host, Katie Wrigley.
Thank you again for joining me today. So we're going to dive right in, per usual. So what is Cognomovement? At its simplest form, it is a sensory-based system that allows direct access to the nervous system. It utilizes neuroplasticity, which is your brain's ability to be able to change and create new neural pathways to help the body have more peace and ease around whatever it is that you're working on. So in this episode, I'm going to explain a little bit about Cognomovement, how it works, what it isn't, and then I'm going to give you some of my favorite success cases from the clients that I've worked with over the past few years and what they have been able to bring into their lives since being a part of Cognomovement. So as I mentioned, it is a sensory-based exercise. If you're watching YouTube, and I encourage you on this episode to do so, I will try to actually link the YouTube episode into this podcast for once. I don't normally do that. But it utilizes this brightly shaped psychedelic looking soccer ball that has chakra symbols on them. If you are familiar with what the chakra system is, that's what these are. The ball itself is designed for extra brain activation. The left side likes the bright colors and the complex shapes, and the right side can sense a 3D object in time and space. So Cognomovement works through some very basic cross-body movements. And the biggest key, though, is in the eyes. And there's so much that we have learned about different eye positions and what we found available through this. So if you start to think of your eyes like joysticks, they're going to point to different places in your brain where different memories are hanging out and different emotions. Recently, we've been having a lot of fun playing with something that is the performance direction. So this is going back into those times in your life where you have been completely unstoppable. And can be doing anything. It can be, if you are a speaker, it can be when you are rocking it on stage. If you are someone who loves fashion and you love to bake, it can be some of your baking successes. It can be when you are putting on an outfit and you are just rocking it. It can be running a business. Wherever you have felt unstoppable, there is a place in your brain where your body will automatically go into that unstoppable position. And what was fascinating to me is we just did this at advanced training a few weeks ago, is I was actually subconsciously, anytime I'm creating new content, either for myself or copywriting for other people, I was actually positioning my head and putting myself into that performance position. And I didn't know that until I went through the exercise to help me find the performance position with the help of Liz Larson and Bill McKenna, who are the creators of Cognomovement. These eye positions are really the key. With a lot of the officers that I've worked with over the years, officers are amazing at compartmentalizing different things that they're dealing with on the job. And that is one of the ways that they continue to be present, be able to be helpful to the community, and actually be able to get a good night's sleep again, at least after working with me, by doing this compartmentalization. But what it also means is a lot of times they aren't aware of the impact of some of the cases that they're working on the nervous system. And so we can actually without even knowing what we're working on, just by working the eyes, and I'm looking for very specific neurological patterns, we can find the things in there that are keeping you awake at night, that are keeping your nervous system running hot. For the typical session, though, we focus on simply a physical sensation in the body. It can be stress, it can be anxiety, it can be physical pain. It can also be something wonderful, the unstoppable mode. We also have an eye position for going into unconditional love. And for those of you who are manifestors out there, you know that that level of love is where we start to manifest and bring in the things that we really desire in our life. And there is an eye position that is correlated to when you are in that feeling of unconditional love, and we have tools to help you connect with that. It's really, really cool, just as a side note, to actually be able to tap into both of those directions at the same time, the performance and the love. And it feels really good in the body. We also do a lot of work with indirect vision as well. And through a lot of research that Bill McKenna has done, thank you so much, Bill, we've actually been able to correlate and find the neuroscience and the science behind the different components of Cognomovement and the efficacy and what we are able to do to help people. We can help improve memory. We can help with workplace performance. We can help improve focus. We can help reconnect neural pathways after you've taken a knock to the head. There's so much that we've been able to do. And the thing that I hear over and over again, and it's the reason that I changed the company name to the Catapult Effect versus the Pain Changer. For one, we don't want to keep focusing on the problem state. We want to focus on the solution state. But this fast forwards whatever it is that you're trying to work through or work on. And the amount of growth that I've seen people make. Typically, if you look at a coaching program, with a lot of times they're a year long, and I've done this myself, what I've been able to see repeatedly from clients in Cognomovement year after year after year now is within a 6-month time period, we can get you as far as we can with coaching alone. And this is because coaching is done at a conscious level. Unless they have hypnosis or Cognomovement or another tool in their pocket that's going to help go do a deep dive into the subconscious, the conscious mind work is going to take a little bit longer. It's still effective. I'm not knocking coaching. I'm a coach myself. But it's a longer process than when you can bring in a tool such as Cognomovement or hypnotherapy to be able to help make these shifts much more quickly. And I've seen, again, time and time again, that we can make these shifts in about half of the time that we can with just conscious work alone. A note about the conscious and subconscious mind. Only 5 to 10% of what you do in a day is conscious. 90 to 95% of what you do in a day is on autopilot. Let me give you an example of this. You probably have a routine when you go to work. And if there's one day where you need to run an errand you don't normally do, how often have you actually forgotten that you were going to run that errand? That is an example of a subconscious pattern running on autopilot. And so much of what we do day to day, we repeat on autopilot. When you can get into that subconscious, your autopilot can actually change so you more easily align your actions with what you're trying to achieve for yourself. And the other thing that I've really noticed with client after client after client, started to really correlate the feedback I was getting. And what I kept hearing over and over again is, I feel more like myself again. I feel like I'm actually myself for the first time in my life. Or I haven't felt this free since I was a little kid. And what it's doing is it's peeling back all of these layers. You are still you, essentially at the core. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken. But all these layers of crap have happened to you over the course of your life. You've had traumatic events. You've had negative emotional experiences. And if you're like most people, you haven't been taught how to change those, shift those, remove those from your body. You may have been given pharmaceuticals to try to help mask the symptoms, but most of us, myself included, until I became a Cognomovement practitioner and doing some of the work I did leading up into that with coaching, We don't know how to reverse this for ourselves. It takes time and it takes someone to teach us how to do this and how to be able to make these shifts on our own. And that's a big thing that I teach my clients to do, is how to make these shifts on their own. So I'm teaching you how to do this as you go. I'm giving you tools to support you. And my clients are able to continue to do this longer term, have much, much less reliance on me. Getting back to who we are is essential to really getting joy in life. And at this stage of my life, with all the cognitive movement I've done, I have never been as comfortable in my own skin as I am right now. I can still see the flaws. I can still hear the flaws when I'm being human and I do something stupid, because I'm human. I'm going to do something stupid sometimes. But I can forgive myself much quicker. And my mistakes are not nearly the level that they used to be, in part because I'm much more aware and I'm much more into my body now. Reconnected to who we are is absolutely critical. And these flaws that I used to see, they're just things about me. They don't say anything about me at all. Your flaws don't say anything about you. And I want to touch briefly on what cognitive movement is not before I share some success cases with aliases only, so that I'm protecting my clients' anonymity. Some of my clients have chosen to let you know who they are. They've given me some wonderful Google reviews, which I'm so grateful for, but I have many more anonymous testimonials because a lot of people do not want to share that they've done this work. And I totally respect that. That is a big piece of creating a safe space. So cognitive movement is not a medical condition. We don't work with any named diseases. That's why I said bump in the head versus a brain injury. Brain injury is a named disease. Chronic pain is a named disease, named condition. We don't work with that. We are working with the nervous system itself. We are helping to create new neural pathways, which we have a lot of science behind, that allow you to have the peace and ease that you have been seeking around whatever condition you are working with. If you've listened to this podcast at all, you know that I had a really long 25-year history with chronic pain. Anecdotally, again, I need to be adherent to FDA laws. Anecdotally, cognitive movement was the key that allowed me to change my pain forever. And it took a little while to create the new neural pathways so that I did not experience pain on a day-to-day level. It took a little while. And that's a big part of what I talk about in my upcoming book that I'm releasing later this year, is how we can actually unlearn these pain levels over time. And a lot of the different things that I've seen that played into my former pain state, and the things that I see people using that are actually keeping them locked in a pain or a chronic condition. If you follow Gabor Mate at all, he talks about how there is an 80% correlation between, so I think 80% of autoimmune diseases, if I'm remembering this correctly, and I know I am, 80% of autoimmune diseases come out of unhealed trauma. Your body, your subconscious, is tracking every experience that you had from the time that you were a conscious being inside your mother's womb right up until today. The eyes are how we can find these different events and help shift them and change the meaning, change the weight of these events and the impact it's having on you that's showing up as pain or an autoimmune condition or as trauma. It helps neutralize those to be able to shift out of them, let go of them, and focus on who you want to be, what you want to bring in your life. But it is not medical. It's not named. And people ask me all the time, can you work with this named condition? And my answer is always, I don't work with any named conditions. And I have had great experience with shifting someone who has the same condition that you have just mentioned to me. So I want to be clear on that. This is not medical, but it is absolutely incredible. And wherever you are in life, I have not seen many people who don't benefit and move forward by utilizing cognitive movement, especially people who start to do it on a daily basis. So I want to share a couple of success cases. And again, these are all aliases. So the first one that comes to mind is Teresa. Teresa had been in bed with Lyme disease for about 15 years. And she reached out to me via the Cognomovement site. We had one session and she realized from that session that so much of what was keeping her sick, keeping her in fear, keeping in anxiety was coming from traumas that had happened to her in early childhood that she had buried. We then reconnected again, hopped on the phone, and decided to do a 6-month package together, which was about 15 Cognomovement sessions. And in that time, she became a completely different person. She realized that some of the things that she had done previously, she did because of those traumas. She used to be involved in the cannabis industry before it was legal, and it had a very negative impact on her life. But she realized that her drive to be in there was coming from these traumas. She realized that so many of the relationships that she had been involved with came out of trauma bonds. And she is not the same person that she used to be. She's been able to let go of a couple of the addictions that she still hadn't been able to let go of yet. And she is thriving today. And she's completely out of bed. And recently she shared that she is no longer afraid of getting sick. And this is something that she feared for a long time because she was sick for 15 years. And that was close to half of her life. And so she lost a lot of trust in her body. She lost a lot of trust in herself. And through the Cognomovement process, she's been able to regain a lot of that for herself. Another fantastic success case that I have is Sam. Sam is on the younger side, and he had suffered a pretty significant blow to the head, again, staying away from those named conditions, and it had severely impacted his life. The sport of choice that he was in had been a huge part of his identity. And through the months that we've been working together, and Sam is someone that I still have the joy of getting to work with, through the months of working together, we have reconnected him to who he truly is. We have helped reconnect neural patterns so that he is back to feeling like himself, even within the year from when his brain was initially took that blow. From reports of him, he feels more himself. He's sober, and he is reconnecting with his family and with the people who are the most important to him at new levels. And he's giving himself the freedom to really explore what he wants to do and what he wants to make of his life. And it has been such a joy to work with him and to see him grow. And he's actually posted on his social medias for pictures of himself 3 months apart. He does not look like the same man. And he has been such a pleasure to work with. He is grabbing pretty much anything that I'm throwing his way. He's dismissing anything that does not work for him. And I'm really excited to see what he does next. But he has gone from being attached to the sport that he actually really did not want to be a part of anymore, because when you've had an injury to the level that Sam had endured, it really changes your perspective on the safety of that sport and how you view your body and how protective you get of your body. When you've lost one part of it, it changes things. And he made a really good point one day that it's one thing if you hurt a shoulder or an elbow, you have another limb. Most of us have another limb, but you only have one brain. And he's right. You only have one brain, and you want to be good to it so that it lasts you and it remains disease-free for as long as you are here on this plane. And then a third one that I want to bring to light is actually an officer that I had worked with. And again, they're going to remain nameless. When they initially came to me, they were having a really hard time sleeping. And they're also part of a SWAT team, which is going to have more intense call outs than regular police duties. But even in conversations, the regular police duties that this person has are pretty intense. They're very intense. And we did just 6 sessions together and went from having trouble sleeping to having very high quality of sleep. And those sessions continued to help this person sleep at a deep level for more than a year. And then they recently came back. It was actually a year and a half, almost 2 years later. They came back to start to do some tune-ups with me again because sleep quality was starting to get disrupted. But within a couple of sessions, we improved quality of sleep again. and they were able to get back that same piece. The other thing that they mentioned was they didn't have any dreams prior to working with me. And then suddenly they have a really cool dream state where they said that most of their dreams are like being in an action movie. And they actually enjoy that quite a bit. The other thing that they reported, and this was really cool, because we do have a whole athletic performance protocol, which is absolutely incredible. And they actually used it on me in advanced training. I had an old injury in my left shoulder that through regular Cognomovement techniques without any physical parts of the technique, because we do have some to help give the joint different options, so to speak, of how it can sit. And it was causing me some discomfort and more discomfort as I got more and more into my body, as I really connected deeper to who I am. And it's really incredible protocol. But without doing any athletic performance, after one of our sessions, before they had taken a break, they reached out and said, hey, I've been working on running this year, and suddenly I'm running faster, easier, and longer than I ever have. And that's because the same things that are keeping you awake at night are the same things that are blocking you from performing more in whatever your sport of choice is, things that are blocking you from focusing and performing better at work. You are one person, you are one body. And those things that are blocking you, they are the same things, no matter which way you look at it. So we want to clear out those things that are keeping you from being the best you. We want to peel back those layers that are preventing you from being the person that you are meant to be and being comfortable in the skin of being that person that you are meant to be. Now, one thing that all of us have noticed, all the practitioners around the world, is that Cognomovement can still be really hard to describe. It's almost like trying to describe the smell of cannabis or the smell of a meth lab if you have not smelled them. Once you've smelled them, they're unmistakable. You know exactly what you're smelling. And I use that analogy because until you've tried Cognomovement, it's still really hard to really get that comprehension around, to understand on a cognitive level what exactly it does and how it works and how much it can actually help you. And so my offer to you in this episode is I am just launching a new offer where you can come try Cognomovement with me at a discounted introductory price. We're going to hop on Zoom for 30 minutes. It's only going to be $50, and you can see for yourself how this works and how it can benefit for you. So I'm going to put a link in here, and my invitation to you is to reach out and book with me to try Cognomovement today. What's going to happen? You're going to come to the session with something that's stressing you out or challenging you, or something that you want to work on. Maybe you want to be unstoppable you. If so, we're going to play with that. And I'm going to give you different ways that you can use that in your day-to-day life. And then we're going to reconnect on Zoom a week later. We're going to talk about what's changed, what stayed the same for you. And I'm going to have different ways for you to look at things, because there's this funny thing called cognoamnesia that happens where you may not realize what's actually changed. And that's part of my job as the practitioner, is to help you see what's changed. And I've experienced this over and over again myself. I have so many sessions that I know were effective sessions, and I could not tell you what I worked on in those sessions. I've actually had to go back to other practitioners and been like, what did we work on? Because it just went away. When there is no hook in the nervous system about it, you literally forget what the current state had been. But what you do notice is through very specific questions, what's changed. So we reconvene in a week, and if nothing's changed, you have nothing to lose. My guess is, though, that at least one of the things that we're going to look at will change for you. So the best way to really understand what Cognomovement is to try it for yourself. So I encourage you, grab the link. I'm going to put it in the show notes, and book your 30-minute mini Cognomovement session with me and give it a shot. Thank you so much for listening today, and I will see you again soon. Until then, please be well.
Thank you for joining us today. If you enjoyed this episode, please share it with a friend and leave a 5-star review, which helps grow the podcast and reach others just like you. While you're at it, connect with Katie on social media. You can find her on LinkedIn, TikTok, Facebook, and Instagram as @CoachKTDubs. That's CoachKTDubs. This has been the Catapult Effect with Katie Wrigley. Thanks for listening.